Hi and welcome back, and this is part 3 where we're pretty much done with our primary texturing, our main texturing, and then we're going to bring this back into Blender. So always make sure that you do a file save, so you save all your layers. You can always come back and tweak things. I need to make sure my factory window is below my UVs. Okay, so first things first, you want to hide your UV layer, so that's hidden so we don't see anything. Now, of course, if you wanted to customize this, like add in any graffiti or grunge or anything like that, you would add in a new layer. You could then hand paint on top of this so you can give it that nice natural look. You could, of course, bring in other textures from the web, but this is just the basics. Okay, so now I want to bring this into Blender, so I'm going to do a file save as, and I'm going to save it back as a ping file. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the word unwrap, and I'm going to go ahead and call this color. I'll just call it final.ping. Okay, now I don't know if it's actually the final because I'm about to see what this looks like inside Blender, so I could have some issues here. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I need to set this up for the actual game engine. So up top here, top center, I'm going to choose Blender Game. Step number 2 is I'm going to come over here to the right hand side. I'm going to go to the render panel and I'm going to turn on shading to GLSL. So those are two very important steps. Okay, so now I'm going to tab back into edit mode on the building. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is I'm going to be spending my time with the material panel and the texture panel. So the material panel, it has no material. So I'm going to add a new material, and I'll go ahead and call this building mat. And I'm going to turn the specularity down in a little bit. I'm going to leave it where it is, so my building is going to be really shiny. And I want this to be kind of a rundown factory building with brick, so it really shouldn't be shiny. But I want you to see the amount of shine that it has. Okay, so now I can put in my texture. So now I go to the texture panel, and you'll see that I have these texture slots here. And this is so you can actually have lots of different textures going on at the same time. But that's for another screencast. I'm going to hit New, and I'm going to go ahead and just call this Building Text. You'll see that it's pure black, and that's because it has no texture loaded. Down here where it says Image, I'm going to choose Open. I'm going to go find my finished building one. And what I like to do is I like to turn on to show the little thumbnails. So it's this little tiny button here with these 4 little boxes. So I found it here, UV building final.ping. I'm going to say open image, and there it shows up in my preview, so that's nice. Okay, and I think all the work is done over here. We'll see. I want to see how it looks in my UV image editor. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom of my UV image editor, and I've got the 3 buttons down here, open, new, and this little guy right here, which is my image browser. So I'll click on it, choose my image that was loaded. I don't know why it's not letting me choose it. Okay, how about if I select them all? Okay, so apparently I have to select all of my object, and I guess that's how Blender can like sort of stick or glue the texture on there. Alright, so now I'm going to tab out of edit mode, and what the heck, where's my texture? Well, one very simple thing that we've forgotten to do is we have to tell Blender in this 3D window, how do we want to view this 3D window? So we have to come down here, and at the bottom of the 3D window, we have to go to the viewport shading, and right now it's set to solid. We want to set it to material. When we set it to material, ta-da, you see everything in all its wonderful glory. Sort of. There are things that I would like to fix right off the bat, but it's pretty good. It's super shiny, and brick should not be that shiny, so I'm going to quickly go over to the materials panel, and I'm going to lower the specularity down, so that's good. Window actually turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Brick looks pretty good overall. You want to look for the direction of the brick. You might find that some brick is going the wrong direction. For instance, I just discovered that right over here. My brick is going sideways over here, and it's going up and down over here. So, there are 2 ways that I could fix that, and I'll show you how to do that because this is something you're going to run into all the time. Now, I'm going to keep the color of this lightness of this concrete for the roof here, but I'm going to use the same texture for the asphalt, but I'm going to make it darker color. And I will show you that in another video. All right, I'm going to go back to the building, back into edit mode, and I'm going to select this face here. And you can see that this island here is going up and down, and that's why it's doing that. So I'm going to show you the quickest, easiest fix. I'm going to select that UV island. I'm going to press G to grab, and notice that all the bricks that it's going over are horizontal. Well, right below it, look at this. I have some bricks that are the other direction. Done. That's the kind of editing that I like. Okay, now I'm having a tough time seeing some of my other textures because of how things are going here. So here's another side where the brick texture is not going the correct orientation. So I'm going to go ahead and find that UV island, grab it, move it over here, and done. So that's nice. Again, this is why most industry designers will go ahead and use UV mapping. Let's see. Sorry, I'm on my laptop, and so I am, here we go, view selected, there we go. On my laptop, I don't have a full keyboard, so things are a little cattywampus here. You will notice, again, if you look at the, those bricks are actually going all right. Look at the texture scale. You want to make sure that it's, that it's okay. So what can you do with the texture scale? With the texture scale, if it's not correct? Well, I could come over here and I could say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix this. I could press S and I could actually scale it, and you can see that it's getting bigger or smaller. I think the texture scale here is all right. I'm going to look at the door now. Door looks okay. It's not the best door in the world, but it's not too shabby. Okay, so the building looks all right. I'm going to move my light around so I can actually see things a little bit better. Move it over here a bit. All right, so now I can see the back. You can see the back better. It's pretty good. So you could duplicate your lights, and that way you could then just have them up here. The side looks pretty good. It's at least going the right direction. Okay, so things are looking all right. I could also, you saw that quick little edit I did in the UV window, I could go back to Photoshop, of course, and that's going to give me the most control over everything. So, yeah. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this ground plane, and I want to go ahead and I want to UV unwrap that, and I want to put in the texture. So I don't really need Photoshop for this because it's just a plane, so that's really easy. So I can just tab into edit mode on this ground plane. I can press U to unwrap, and I can just say Smart UV unwrap, and there it is right there. It's fine. And I'm just going to come over and try it over here. Let's see how well I do here. So I'll call this ground matte. I definitely want the specularity to be brought down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and go over here to texture. I'm going to say new texture, ground text, open, take the asphalt. I'll come over here. I'll choose asphalt here. So you can see it's already showing the asphalt. I'll go back in here, which is cool. It's the wrong scale. So again, what I'm going to do is, again, this is why UV maps are so cool. I could have unwrapped this and brought it into Photoshop and scaled down the texture and tiled it like crazy and done all that. And I could have done that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press S and I'm going to scale this up. And notice that as I scale it up and go outside of the UV grid, notice that my texture is actually getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And the reason for that is because as when you go outside of the UV grid, it's duplicates or tiles of the texture out here. You just can't see them, but that's what's happening. So if I select it and I just go bigger and bigger and bigger, I'm just looking over here on my left and seeing what I like. And that's not bad. It's still a little big. So first of all, let's take care of that shine. There's a bright, bright, bright shine on there. So I'm going to go to the Materials panel, and I'm going to lower the specularity all the way down. So no spec. Next is the darkness. I'm just going to take the diffuse, and the diffuse right now is at 0.8. Well, watch what happens if I go ahead and I bring it down. So instantly, it's getting darker and darker, so now I'm getting more asphalt. So, and I could bring it down to 0. You don't want pure 0 because then you won't see any of the texture. And so I'm going to leave it at something like that, maybe 0.2. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm still just not happy with the texture. It's just way too big. So I'm going to go back into edit mode, and I'm just going to scale it up considerably. Really big, I mean ginormously big. Okay, so that looks a little bit more realistic. So now I'd have to be in game and doing it like that. Okay, so that's looking all right. So the last object, and I'm not going to really demo this that much, but again, you would get into edit mode, you would select all, you try to do a smart UV project. So I'm going to do smart UV project 0.06, say OK. Here it is here. It's a mess. It's not bad, it's a lot of little tiny pieces here. And what I would do is I would probably go online and I'd probably try typing in something like seamless scratched metal texture, something like that. And I'd probably just look for something that looked pretty good. So it depends on how scratched you want. And again, take a look. Some of the scratches are a little intense. You can make your colors, or you can make your textures darker inside Photoshop. So that's sort of the one thing that I feel like I haven't really shown you yet. So maybe I'll go ahead and do that. This is that's pretty scratchy, but I kind of like it. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. Hopefully it'll go to it. Okay, I don't know why that last one isn't letting me go to it. So, okay, so again, you have to also remember, I don't know why it's not letting me go to this one here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it just took a little while. All right, so I'm going to use this texture here, and I'm going to show you how to deal with this here. This is a free texture here, so I'm going to go ahead and download it. And okay, and I'll save it. So paperbackgrounds.com. I don't want to make the, paperbackgrounds.com. Oh, paper-backgrounds. That makes a difference. Okay, I just want to make sure that everything is free. It is free. Okay, good. All right, so this is a kind of a cool website, paperbackgrounds.com. Here we go, black grunge concrete texture. That's kind of cool. So you'll find when you look for textures, you'll find that these are, you'll find some extra ones here. It looks like some of these, yeah, I think you actually have to create an account to make it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. That one's not very good. Okay, so I like this one. All right, I like this one a lot. I just don't like how light it is, so I'm going to go ahead and download this here, and I'm going to just call this ladder texture. Okay, so here it is here. I'm going to select it all. I'm going to do this part very quickly. Export. This one's a smaller size, so I'm going to leave it at 1024 by 1024. And this is not going to be the UV building. This is going to be UV ladder unwrap. And then I'll go back to Photoshop, open it. Okay, so there's my UV unwrap. I'll call this UVs. I'll lock it. Oops. Okay, and now I'll go find that ladder texture and I'll bring it on in. Okay, so there it is there. I need to put it underneath it. Whoops. Put it underneath it. There we go. Now I can of course scale down the texture if I want, and that will of course repeat the pattern. I'm gonna go ahead and try it just like this. It might mean that the scratches are really big, but for right now, if it works, then my work is done. So talk about efficiency. I really want the ladder to be darker, so I'm gonna show you how to do that real quickly. It's super easy. So I'm gonna take the layer selected. I'm gonna come up here to Image. I'm going to go to Adjustments, and you'll see Brightness Contrast is it's not letting me do that. So why? It's because this layer, when I brought it in, it changed it to something called a Smart Texture or Smart Object. So I'm going to right-click on it. I'm going to choose Rasterize Layer. Now when I come up here to Image Adjustments, I have all these I can do. So I'm going to do Brightness and Contrast, and I'm going to go ahead and darken it, darken it, darken it. And you can see it's going. I still get some of those. I'm going to increase the contrast a little bit. There we go. So that's kind of the darkness level that I wanted. Say OK, and I think that's looking pretty good. Yep, my UV is all inside there. Good, good. Okay, so I think this looks pretty good. So I'm going to try it out. I'm going to hide the UV. And I like my UV going a little bit outside. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna save this as a Photoshop file. Just in case I need to come back, it's always safe. And then I'm going to do a file save as, and I'm going to save it back as a ping file. This is what I'm bringing back in, and I'm going to go ahead and call this UV ladder final. And ping, and OK. And here's the moment of truth. Ladder, I'm going to assign a new material. Ladder matte. There we go. I'm going to bring the specularity down because I don't want it to be so shiny. Texture, new. Ladder text, open, thumbnail, there we go. Let's look at it in here. Here we are. Let's tab out of edit mode, and there it is. It's not very well lit up on this side. Where's my light? Okay. So that's not too bad. Honestly, from in-game, if you were looking at it from here, you would see it. Can you see the scratches? Not really. You can't see the scratches, but what you can see from here is that it's not just pure black. It is a photograph. So it does look better than just if I had given it a regular black material. It's got some lights, it's got some darks, it's got some depth, some flaws, things of that nature. So there you go. There's a pretty simple building, and of course I could spend a lot more time and do graffiti and whatnot and just have fun with this. I could do a sign, maybe do some neon. If I modeled some lights, I could actually put some point lights, here and put them up against the actual building itself. So that'd be kind of cool. I could do something like that and then duplicate this. Oops, duplicate it on the side over here and then duplicate it again. And I could have some cool point lights set up here. So that'd be kind of cool. So yeah, just, have fun with it, and good luck.